Outstanding job. You got a 126 skilQ. That's a new best score today. When you roll onto the new edges, transfer pressure from your old outside ski onto your new outside ski. Make the old outside ski light and the new outside ski heavy on the snow. Transition weight release 65%.
I feel like they kind of dropped a ball with this launch. I actually really love this. It kind of gives you an idea of what you need to work on to get to the next level. You know, I'm not going to be happy with the score. Like, don't say a nice thing like that. I was so annoyed with this. Earlier this season, I made a couple videos talking about Carv 2 and my first impressions. Carv literally came out with updates the day I released my second video, and they have continued to make updates since then, and so I thought, since I was a little critical in my initial 2 videos, it is only fair that I make a follow-up and talk a little bit about what they have added, what they have changed, and my updated thoughts about Carv 2. If you're curious about whether I'm still getting frustrated by Carv, if I've improved, and how the new coaching system has been updated, then continue watching. In this video, I will show you what Carv 2 sounds like on snow right now and how I am using it, and we'll also look through the app a little bit afterwards and see what they have added to enhance the experience. Without further ado, let's go do some skiing. I kind of wanted to film with Carv today a little bit because I feel like it's getting a lot better. Right now I am using custom mode, and it is selecting the thing I'm going to be focusing on, the metric I'm going to be focusing on, and right now it's just transition weight release. Okay, let's go.
skilQ 120. In groomed conditions, focus on getting that outside ski to grip, especially through the middle of the turn. This gives you the chance to release your weight early for the next turn. Transition weight release 45%.
Let's continue. Oh my god, it is so beautiful. I discovered something about slush. Transition weight release is super important. I think I keep the pressure on my outside ski for too long into the turn, and that just makes things very difficult. And yeah, I think it helps to be a little lighter on the snow. So
Outstanding job. You got a 126 skilQ. That's a new best score today. When you roll onto the new edges, transfer pressure from your old outside ski onto your new outside ski. Make the old outside ski light and the new outside ski heavy on the snow. Transition weight release 65%.
It's a lot better. I know I can do better. The last segment before I started recording, I got an 80%, and I don't think that's like my highest score. Like, I'm just really inconsistent with transition weight release, but it's just good to get checked. Like, this is one of those metrics that I really like using Carv for, because it just like keeps me honest and I understand it to some degree, you know, so that's really helpful. Let's keep moving. So it's pretty soft, like where the sun is hitting, but in the shade it's still a little slippery, like not quite melted yet. I just can't complain when the view is this good.
skIQ 122. In groomed conditions, allow your center of gravity to be over the top of your feet in transition to allow for balance to be developed on the new outside ski at the beginning of the turn. Transition weight release 51%.
I feel like the advice it's giving now is more varied, first of all, and it's more specific. Like, it's giving you specific, actionable things to work on. And we haven't heard that yet on this run, but it actually will also give you drills to do that are a little bit more specific instead of just try not using poles and over again, right? And this time, like just within one run, it's giving me 3 different pieces of advice that are not difficult to think about, like as you go onto the next segment. And I think the active coach mode without the turn by turn is just a little less stressful, and I'm kind of enjoying using it, and I'm getting good stuff out of it. I'm getting good reminders. Like, there are things I already know, but they're good reminders. There are other things it's just like worded in different ways. And so, you know, sometimes it just suddenly clicks. Overall, given the last few updates and this current version, it has been a huge improvement, and I'm not even feeling the need to use the legacy training modes anymore because I feel like I'm getting enough out of this. And even though my score is not going up whatsoever, I don't feel like it's a waste of time, and I feel like I can still improve without stressing too much about the skIQ, which is really nice. I think, yeah, I'm really happy with this development for sure. And I'm so glad that Carv is listening to its users. But let's ski some more. I think I'm gonna try a different metric just to shake things up a little bit and see what it tells me. So the other thing is you can now see the tips that it tells you in this history, which is really nice. So you can go back and review it. I think there's also some improvements here. Yeah, so you can look. There's a little bit more information in here, which is super cool. I think we are going to be working on turn shape, which I think is something that they put a huge emphasis on in this newer version of Carv, just Carv 2 in general, the new algorithm. So also, like, I don't do very well, and I'm really curious to see what it suggests. So yeah, let's do it.
skIQ 124. In groomed conditions, let's focus on turn shape. Turn shape looks at how rounded or C-shaped your turns are. Rounded turns are more efficient and less tiring than abrupt Z-turns. Turn shape 65%.
Huh. Wonder what 65% turn shape means. This one I feel like is a little bit more generic. This like blurb I feel like is a little more generic. Maybe it's just because we are just starting the segment, so maybe it'll tell me something more interesting later. It's a little slipperier here.
skIQ 115. In uneven conditions. In uneven snow, focus on unweighting and releasing the pressure on the old outside ski to initiate your turns. Use the moment of weightlessness to move your hips across your skis into the new turn. Turn shape 27%.
So that was obviously a really terrible segment. I was super flustered by the sudden like firmness and slipperiness of the snow, and it just like also suddenly got steeper. Anyway, it's all right. It's just the way it is sometimes, like, and I was really trying to go for it because I am actively using Carv, so I'm trying to kind of like keep things going. Normally when things get a little wonky, I'll stop like more liberally, I guess. But I still think that was a really good showcase of the app functionality and the advice it gives. So I guess it's fine. Let's go ski some more. Cannot get over this. Okay, we're gonna head to Milky Bowl, which I think would be this way.
Excellent work. You got a 117 skilQ. That's a new best in uneven terrain today. In uneven snow, it's crucial to control your inside ski. Bumps in the snow will try to knock your skis out of position. To stop this, you need muscle activation in your inside leg as well as your outside. Early edging 42%.
Okay, so it's not doing this thing right now. I think maybe because yesterday I didn't work on early edging, but it's been doing this thing where it tells you what your score was the day before and how it compares and what your target is. So it provides a little more context. Maybe it'll come up a little later. Okay, come on.
You're crushing it. You got a 127 skilQ. That's a new best score today. Use the pressure built up from the last turn to soften your legs and begin a toppling movement of your skis into the new
tried to do that.
Early edging 64%.
Okay. This is what it looks like. I used to have, I think, a 142 or 144 skilQ, and they have downgraded me with the algorithm change to 138 last season. And this season, I've only topped up at 135, and it's a pretty recent development. So yeah, I'm not the greatest Carv skier. If you're a Carv user, you'll know that this is not exactly a great score. If you go into the Facebook group, I guess, like, they're all amazing. People are, it would seem like everybody is getting like 140, 150, 160. I don't know. It's definitely something that's like really easy to focus on. We'll talk a little bit more about how I'm using Carv and what my mentality is a little later, but yeah, so this is kind of like the homepage. I don't think anything's really changed here, except for this new snow conditions section where you can look at how you're doing in different snow conditions. So in terms of snow conditions, I feel like it has gotten a little bit better at detecting the snow conditions, but it's still not perfect. But it has detected powder, it has detected moguls. For me personally, if I ski a little bit better in moguls, it will say it's uneven instead of moguls. And if I do badly, then it would detect that it's moguls, which is kind of funny. I don't know why, but I think it is getting better. It has definitely detected powder, and we'll circle back to how this has really helped me, but let's just keep going. Run type has always been around, but I think they just added the novice category. I think that's what, like, maybe bunny hills or just really easy stuff that's unrated. I don't know. And free ride also. I'm not really sure what classifies as free ride. Maybe like park terrain. I don't know. But to me, I don't really pay attention to these. And the badges are the same. I lost my Mountain Master forever. At least for now. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get there this season. But yeah, these are the different categories. And I guess they added a Mountain Goat category for over 160. Before, I think it just went up to Grim Reaper. Yep. I don't really look at this achievement stuff. It just feels like too much information and not focused enough. So community tab, I think nothing has changed here. I haven't really paid attention to the resort leaderboards, but basically you get to see how you're doing kind of in relation to everybody else at the ski resort this season, past month. Nothing has changed here really. It just takes forever for them to load this data. I think it was a little more interesting to me last season. It was more novel, I guess, for me to kind of look and see if there's any one of them where I am close to the top of the leaderboard. I actually saw myself in first place for one run last season somewhere, but I don't remember. I have a screenshot somewhere. If I find it, I'll share it here. I try to set up like a group that I can share with you guys, but it's not really working. So if I figure that out, I'll share my group in the description down below. Yeah, and this is like the overall leaderboard, and you can see where you are. I'm ranking 15,605 out of 50,658 skiers in the global leaderboard. This is the ski tab, and here is where you go when you want to start your day. And for the audio, I think there's a change here where you can now select premium audio, and I think that really is just whatever is on board on the iPhone. I actually had to install this premium voice with my iPhone instead of, like, it's not a Carv thing. I do think it's better. It sounds a little less robotic. Coaching mode, I think they want you to use this active coach, but I've already explained before, I really hate it. I hate the constant feedback from like the bings and the bongs, like that just is constantly reminding you that you are failing. It's just frustrating and it doesn't recalibrate properly. Anyway, I don't like using this. skilQ and tips, I guess it just tells you your skilQ and give you a tip when you stop. But I really don't use any of these. Train with an Olympian, that is kind of like the legacy mode, but I think they mapped it to different metrics since the metrics have changed from Carv 1 to Carv 2 now that they don't have the pressure sensor under the boot anymore. I thought I would be using it more again now that it's back, but I tried it the other day and I just don't enjoy it as much as I used to, and I actually prefer what they have now, the newer coaching, which brings me to custom, which is what I pretty much always use now. And I usually like to do skiing and lifts for audio coaching. So whenever I stop, it will give me a little tip. And I turn all of these on so I can hear what the sensors have recorded in the last segment. And I usually turn off turn by turn feedback because, like I said, it's just really distracting a lot of the times, especially like in the adaptive mode where it gives you that like sound effect, like the success and fail sound effect. I just really hate that fail sound effect, especially when I'm just going into the lift line and then you just hear this like da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. It's just really annoying. It's like, yes, I know, just stop. You know, I will turn on the monitor sometimes if I really want to know how I'm doing turn by turn. If I'm working on a specific metric, I want to know what works and what doesn't, and hear the difference between my two sides. For the majority of my day, I will have it set up like this. Sometimes I just want to have fun. If I'm skiing with people, I'm talking to them, or I am just doing some harder stuff, then I will turn the audio completely off, and then it just records my stats and doesn't say anything to me, and I'm fine with that. I will say more often than not these days, I have it turned on, and it's really just talking to me whenever I stop, and I'm pretty happy with that. As you heard in the videos of me skiing, it's giving better advice. It's not just telling you something is important and do better. Like, it's actually telling you how you can improve on those metrics. Another thing that I find to be really useful now is there's this like kind of recommended metric that will kind of change automatically based on what Carv thinks you should be working on at the current moment. For me, edge similarity. And if you've seen me ski, I think it's quite obvious. I have this A-frame problem, and it is just the hardest thing for me to get over, and it's just something that I've been working really hard on with Carv. But usually that's how I start my day. After a few runs, it will actually automatically switch to something else. Even if that's still the main thing I need to work on, it will tell me where I am in relation to where the target is. And speaking of target, let's look at this coaching tab, which I think they revamped. I actually really love this. It kind of gives you an idea of what you need to work on to get to the next level. And to do that, they use the data from your top 5 runs in the last 50 segments. And the top 5 is based on your skilQ. But they do average each metrics from those 5 runs and kind of give you a breakdown of where you're at and whether you have hit the goal that you should be reaching for to get to the next level. Some runs, I would have a much higher transition weight release score, especially when I'm in moguls. My transition weight release will be much, much better than when I'm trying to carve. It's kind of interesting to see how this breaks down. Sometimes I get a higher score because of one metric, sometimes it's because of a different metric. I really like how this gives you a better picture of what you need to work on, and from here you can see it's very obvious that edge similarity is my weakest metric. I've been working really hard on that, and I think Carv has helped me a lot. It would tell me things like edge similarity means you have to tip both of your feet at the same time, but it also will encourage me to try to think about it in terms of tipping my inside leg first and the outside leg would follow. It actually spends the majority of the time telling me to put more pressure on my outside leg and lighten the inside leg more to achieve that. And it has been tremendously helpful for me to think about it in terms of that instead of just like, oh, move at the same time. I feel like that's a little bit harder for me to understand how to translate that to body movements. It has also been telling me repeatedly to try to drag my outside pull on the snow to balance over my outside ski a little bit more, and that works really well for me. I don't know about you guys, there's certain things that just work for me that I understand, and other things that's like a little bit difficult for me to digest, but I think now with Carv giving more varied advice, it's also more clear. I think it's easier for me to understand what it wants me to do. When Carv 2 first came out, I feel like I was struggling a lot with understanding what it wanted me to do, and I would just kind of try different things that I've learned from multiple sources to see if it likes what I'm doing more, and I just felt like I was getting nowhere. But now I feel like it's actually telling me things I understand that I can translate to doing differently in my skiing and hopefully improve my score. In the past couple months, I've been dealing with like harder spring conditions between Tahoe and Colorado. Now we're at the end of April, and I have been working independently very hard on keeping my balance a lot on the outside ski. That was the only way I survived this one day at Kirkwood when it was really icy. Without like the constant practice of putting that pressure on my outside ski, I wouldn't be able to improve on edge similarity, which I ultimately did, and I boosted my score by like 5 points. In the last few times I skied, I was able to hit 130 pretty consistently, as you could see from my top performance in the app. That was from my last ski day. Towards the beginning of the season, I feel like I was just like mostly hitting low 120s, and I just couldn't figure out why. Like, I did have a few outliers, but like I said, I used to have these outliers and I just can't replicate it anymore. But now what's different is that I can hit like 130 3 to 5 times throughout the day I'm skiing. And if you've seen my channel, you know I spend a lot of time in moguls and steeps. I don't spend that much time on groomers, so if I can hit it 3 to 5 times, I'm pretty happy. Carv has also been very aggressively marketing Carv 2's ability to detect ungroomed terrain and give you good advice on ungroomed terrain. So the last time I reviewed Carv 2, at that point in time, it was very inconsistently detecting ungroomed terrain, and it was giving pretty generic advice. It wasn't bad advice, but it just felt very repetitive. It didn't go very deep, and I also have this feeling like it wasn't personalized at all. Like, it's not addressing something specific that I did. Now I think it's a lot better. I really felt the benefit of this when I was in California skiing at North Star on our first powder day there. There was a lot of snow and I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable, and I was wanting to do powder better because I haven't spent that much time skiing like deeper powder and I just always feel extremely uncomfortable in powder. So I had Carv turned on. I have that custom mode selected where it just gives you continuous advice. And I got a lot of really, really good advice that day, and it helped me feel a lot more comfortable in powder. I can't quite remember everything Carv told me that day, but a few things I kind of remember that stood out. One of them was try to be more bouncy and like wait for the moment of weightlessness, and then that's when you turn. And that has changed a lot for me. Another tip that I remember that really helped me was telling me to kind of have my arms a little bit higher so I can have better balance in powder. And that also really helped. So it told me a bunch of other things that I can't fully remember right now, but it just kept coming. It was detecting powder most of the day. It wasn't perfect, but I remember just feeling a lot more comfortable in powder after spending a whole day like listening to Carv telling me this and that. It also helped me have a really, really good day the next day when there was multiple feet of powder, and it was, yeah, magical. Stay tuned for the vlog. It will come out in the summer eventually. In conclusion, I have really been enjoying using Carv in the past few weeks, especially as they rolled out other updates. They did bring back some of this legacy modes, but I don't really feel the need to use them anymore because they actually made the regular coaching so much better. I feel like I can just leave it on and, you know, it's like having an instructor talk into my ear like once in a while. I mean, I can watch a ton of YouTube videos, but it's nice that you get some reminder when you're on snow. And it's also nice to get feedback that is based on data. And I feel like there's more feedback now that is based on what I'm doing. I don't know how personalized the advice is, but I think it's probably like if a user is scoring between 50 to 70% on edge similarity, give them this advice, and then there's like kind of this list of advice that it will give you. Back when everyone was kind of complaining about them taking away the legacy training modes and the monitor modes, I think that was because what they rolled out in place of it was just not good enough. And now it is. So ultimately, I think they just really jumped the gun when it comes to releasing Carv 2. I understand that they really wanted to release their fancy hardware and fancy new software. I know what they're going for now after using the Carv 2 coaching mode for a while, but it just wasn't ready at the beginning of the season. And by the time they kind of rolled out the legacy modes, it was already mid-February. And then later on, they then improved the algorithm and the coaching modes. And by that point, people are already starting to wrap up their season. And once you upgrade to Carv 2, there's really no going back. And so I feel like they kind of dropped the ball with this launch. They should have just kept Carv 1 until the Carv 2 software was actually ready. And I think everybody would just be a lot happier because the Carv 1 training modes was only asked for because the Carv 2 coaching mode was just insufficient. At least that's my opinion. Now that the coaching is a lot better, I'm not even touching those legacy training modes I love so much anymore because I don't feel like that's needed. I used to think because I'm so frustrated with the skilQ, I wanted to kind of switch it up and try other stuff, but the coaching mode is definitely better now, and I just want to listen to the advice instead of like doing something more specific. Speaking of skilQ, I am not really hyper focused on that right now because for a few weeks there, I was getting a lot out of the coaching mode without the skilQ number really moving too much, but I can feel myself getting a lot better in powder like I was talking about, and I also felt more comfortable when it's icy, just working on that outside ski pressure, and Carv really helped with that. And then all of a sudden, like working on these metrics, all of a sudden, I guess I put it together one day and my scores jumped from, let's just say 125 to 135. Like it just felt like a very tangible jump. So I think if you're stuck, just keep going and work on different metrics. And I don't know if this happens to anyone else. Every time I work on a specific metric, my ski IQ will go down because I think I'm just hyper focused on one thing. But if you keep moving through the different metrics Carv wants you to work on, trying what it tells you, I think eventually you will put it together and then one day your score will just become better. At least that's how it happened for me. If I'm honest, I still am a little bit frustrated that I'm not improving my score as fast as I think I could, but I'm not mad about that and I don't have a problem with it because I no longer have this feeling like I don't know what it wants me to do. I know what it wants me to do. I'm just working on doing it. And that's a much, much better feeling than earlier this season when I just did not know what it wanted me to do. So yeah, much more positive about Carv 2 now, but I still feel like they completely screwed up when it comes to the launch of Carv 2. It does feel a little bit like it wasn't worth it in the beginning. But like you saw in my app, I got 50 days out of Carv, so I guess I shouldn't complain too much. I have maybe 5 more days left in my ski season, and I don't think that I will get to 140, but it would be great if I do. I still haven't quite understood how to put everything together. Like I can hit a lot of these targets when I'm working on one specific metric, but when I'm trying to put it all together, I don't necessarily hit those targets. I really like Carv now. I think it's helping my skiing. It is helping me every day, to be honest. And I'm just not frustrated anymore, and I'm happy with that. There's still a few things I don't like. So the first thing is it will say things like, great job, that was fantastic, you crushed it, like really positive things, and then followed by a score that is average or below average. And I just kind of really hate that. Like, you know, I'm not going to be happy with the score. Like, don't say a nice thing like that. You don't have to say anything. It doesn't always do that. And when it does it, I'm thinking I got a high score, but I did not. And that's just really annoying, especially when it's like below 120. Sometimes I still get that. I just don't want to hear it. Just tell me the numbers. Don't tell me I'm doing great because it just feels really condescending, okay? And the other thing I don't like is what I haven't liked since Carved 1, which is that they don't take the top 10 consecutive turns instead of like the full segment. And that's just frustrating to me because then you have to like stop more frequently to get like a perfect segment to maximize your score. It's not ideal. I don't like it. I still don't like it, but it is what it is. Hopefully one day they'll change. They have the data. They can just write the code and do it. I think it's really just a product decision. Oh, I just remembered one more thing I want to talk about is like their social media. I've been seeing some really weirdly aggressive content on their Instagram. One of them was like, don't make these 3 mistakes when skiing or you won't improve, something along those lines. And they were things like just following your friend who skis better, or like just ski harder terrain. And like the insinuation is like you should get proper coaching, otherwise you will just not get better. Like those ways don't work. I just really don't like the vibes of that. Like I don't like the implication that people need to spend money on instruction to get better. That's obviously a really great way and the best way to get better, but those other things really help you grow as a skier too. And sometimes people just want to have fun, or they have friends that are better that are willing to help them progress. Like I know there are lots of people that learn how to ski really well that way, and I just don't think there's any need to belittle those methods of learning and call it mistakes. Like I understand they're not the most ideal, but I take issue with calling them mistakes. I was so annoyed with this. There's just some weird stuff with their marketing. Those are just a couple examples that I can think of right now, but their marketing is a little questionable, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of their marketing is tailored so much towards people who are really good skiers, people who are maybe ex-racers, like they already know how to carve. And now they have improved their product, and I'm really happy about that. I think the product is now a lot more useful for someone like me, a recreational intermediate skier. And I think this is a way larger market than people who are professionals, you know? And I wish that they would kind of tailor their marketing a little bit more towards like recreational skiers like me and probably you watching. In terms of pricing, I honestly feel like it's very fair. I was able to get the hardware for free, upgrading from Carv 1 to Carv 2. The membership price, I think, stayed the same at, I believe, $199. If you know how much lessons cost, this is exceedingly fair. I know people hate subscriptions, but I think because there's like continuous cost on their end to improve the product, improve the content, improve the coaching, and also there is some computation happening on their servers that costs money. Like running servers cost money. So I don't have a problem with the subscription model personally. I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about in terms of Carv. And let me know down in the comments what your experience has been, what your thoughts are on it. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. I will probably talk about Carv more in the future. If you want to see more videos from me talking about Carv or anything else, also let me know down in the comments. But yeah, that's it from me today. I'll see you next time. Bye!